Okay, welcome everybody to the Gemini Goddess Morning Star 8th gate, which is the Earth Star Chakra activation. This is the final gate of the Venus descent journey before she descends into the Inanna Underworld. Both of those events are happening this month, so we'll be speaking to both of them, and I'm really super excited about this. I've had a lot of aha clarity moments around the Inanna Underworld that I'm excited to share with all of you too. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. I just want to point out here that that the actual activation is happening in 2 days, Wednesday on February 10th, and it's happening at about approximately 12 degrees of Aquarius. So 11 degrees, 42 minutes. Here we go. This is our agenda for today. If I can, there we go. Remember, I've got these fine motor skill issues sometimes, so bear with me. So there's a lot that we're going to go over today because of the fact that we have these two significant events going on. And we're going to go ahead and start with establishing our spiritual protection. And before we do that, let me just move to the next slide. I'd like to let you know, and I wish Maureen were here to discuss this with you. Once we started working with establishing spiritual protection, she was really intrigued by this work, and she decided to look deeper into it. And of course, these pieces of the armor of God are spoken to in the Bible, in the Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. And what she discovered is that this chapter, Ephesians, was actually written in this town, which I believe is called Ephesia. And it turns out that historically, there was a huge goddess temple in Ephesia. I think it started out as an Artemis temple and then became a Diana temple. And as she dug deeper and deeper, she discovered that the goddess Diana had her own armor of protection. And I would even venture to say that the armor of God that they are speaking of in this chapter is very likely a patriarchal, I don't want to go so far as to say usurpation, but definitely probably has its roots in the armor of Diana from the temple that predated all of that. So Maureen did a lot of work on the armor of Diana, and I will put the work that she did on the resource page for you to look at. And what's interesting is she came up with two not versions in terms of the meanings behind the armor, but in terms of the imagery behind them. And when she asked me, you know, which one do you like better? And I explained to her, I said, you know, I actually like both of them, because the classical version that she provided was really tapping into the feminine energy, and the more Amazon version that she developed, to me, taps into the masculine energy. So we have this balance here between these two depictions. And I said, I like them both. And depending on which energy you're working with, you can choose the one you'd like to choose to. Of course, this is an image of Wonder Woman, and we know that her character's name is Diana or Diane. So this is a really good representation of that armor as well. And because we are at this 8th chakra, this Earth Star Chakra, which you're going to learn more about, which to me is a very feminine energy, I thought it would be a really good time to introduce the work that Maureen's done on this, and we can, as you're inspired, invoke both or one or the other, whichever one you choose to utilize. as we establish our spiritual protection. So if you can get your feet settled on the ground, and we're going to take some deep breaths to get really, really present. First deep breath into the belly. And your next deep breath, deep into the pelvic floor. Another deep breath, deep, deep, deep into the tailbone. And one more really deep breath into the Earth Star Chakra, which is about 18 inches below your feet. We surround ourselves with the white Christ light of protection and claim this space for the work of the Christ consciousness and the Sophia consciousness. Put on the full armor of God. Put on the full armor of the goddess Diana. We bring ourselves fully present to this time and this space as we connect within the grid. And we seal this space with the light of the golden ray. So it is. Oh. So because this Earth Star Chakra is such an intimate connection with the Earth Mother, our planet Gaia, I decided that it would be a good opportunity to do an invocation of Ceres, the Earth Mother Goddess. So who would like to be the one to do the invocation today? Doreen, would you like to do the invocation?
Santino has volunteered you.
Yeah, I think Mandy just volunteered me.
I know it.
I'll
Mandy.
try on my very small phone here. Okay.
So go ahead and prepare your space. I have my candle lit. And if you need to sage or get your incense going or your spray, whatever you need to do.
Almost Holly. I can't even see this. Sorry. Someone else who can read a bigger screen. Oh, most holy.
Can you wait one moment, Doreen?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it.
Maureen made it.
Thank you.
Hey, Maureen.
Oh, hi. I sure did have to jump through a lot of hoops. My
Well, we're
gosh.
glad that you found the right one to jump through.
Yeah, they sent me through the new member process, so I don't know, but here I am anyway.
Hopefully we won't have to do that again. Doreen's on a phone. Is it too small for you to read? Is that what we're getting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So let's just allow Maureen a couple of moments to get present and to set up her space for the invocation.
Okay. Oh, give myself a little smudge.
So since the phone is too small for Doreen, I am inviting the embodiment of the Great Mother, Leela, to do this invocation. Excuse me?
I knew you were going to pick me.
There you go.
Are we ready?
Is everybody ready? Give a thumbs up.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. O most holy Ceres, nurturing mother, whose sacred womb gave birth to both gods and men, you, who first yoked the oxen and placed the plowshare to virgin soil. You, who first prepared furrows in fallow land. You, who first made wide our furrows. You, who first cast your bounty on the earth and taught the seed to grow. You, who first cared for crops. You, Flora, who made the grain to bear fruit. You, who first set scythe to grain stalks. You, who first spread grain on the sacred harvest floor. You, who first showed us how to thresh. And you, most holy Ceres, whose very breath separates the white chaff from the golden grain. You who guard the grain in storage. You who first milled the grain and distributed its flour for our daily bread. You, eternal Savior Ceres, lavishing your bounty upon me, and mine to you. Flaxen-haired Ceres, gladly I give thanks and praise. And from the little I have, to you I willingly make an offering. Accept these, the first fruits of my fields. May my offering incline you more towards me. May you ever nourish me and mine with your bounty. O most holy and nurturing Mother, gentle Ceres.
Beautiful, thank you.
Very lovely. Very, very lovely. Okay, so let's look at what's going on this month. There is a ton of stuff going on in the heavens this month. First of all, at the beginning of the month, February 1st, Venus entered Aquarius. So this has been a huge shift in energy for her. So at that point, of course, she was standing exactly at the gate where the great conjunction happened on the solstice, Saturn and Jupiter being conjunct there at the solstice. Today, actually, the date of our class, the sun is conjuncting Mercury in retrograde. So this is a huge infusion into the way that we are communicating with the cosmos, with the galaxy, with the solar system, and the way it in turn is communicating with us, particularly through the goddess, the god Mercury, who is the cosmic messenger. So what we're seeing here with Mercury and Aquarius, we're really receiving, this, we talked about at the fourth gate, how the sun is the heart of this solar system and how it connects to our own heart chakra and how it also connects to the heart of our galaxy, which is the galactic center. And so with Mercury and Aquarius, this conjunction really allows the sun to act as a bridge to connect us directly with that galactic center, to receive messages directly from that galactic center through the cosmic messenger, through the sun, through our own hearts. So this is a really huge day today, and you may have some incredible dreams happen tonight or other ahas. I would really invite you to take a moment when you receive those to write them down, because if you don't, I promise you won't remember them later. And I feel very confident that whatever you do receive, it's going to be a huge personal message for you that's going to have significant importance for you, either immediately or possibly even by the time Mercury completes this retrograde period and comes back to that place in the sky where he stationed retrograde. So that's going to be a really important knowing for you to have at that time. So we know in 2 days that we've got the 8th gate, the Earth Star Chakra activation. We're having a new moon in Aquarius the day after the gate activation. And then 3 days after the gate activation, I think somewhere I put 4 days, but it's 3 days. This is when Venus enters the Inanna Underworld. And what's interesting is the cosmic messenger continues to play a significant role here. So as Venus is entering the Inanna Underworld, she is having an exact conjunction with Mercury. So look to that date as well as a time that you may receive that message from the galactic center if it doesn't happen for you today. We know that these energies are very fluid. And so, you know, from the 8th through the 13th, that's a 5-day window of time. And with Jupiter standing close by in 2 degrees, expanding and amplifying whatever that message is that the galactic center has for you. So, you know, anytime within that period, you could be receiving it. It could also show up as the message that you've already seen that's even more clarified, even more expanded, a whole deeper level of what that message is for you. So just be aware that can manifest for each of you in its own unique ways, and allow for the possibilities of how that will show up for you. What's important to understand in terms of the Venus Synodic Cycle is, how do we know when Venus is descending into the Inanna Underworld? And the actual transit in the sky that takes place that tells us that that's what she is doing is when we can visually see that Venus has disappeared from the morning sky. And the reason she has disappeared from the morning sky is because she is now at or within a 10-degree orb to the sun. And so while, let's say the sun is here and Venus is here, 10 degrees out, she comes close to the sun, she meets the sun exactly, and then she goes out another 10 degrees. All of that time while she's within that 10-degree orb of the sun is the time within the Inanna Underworld. And it's a different amount of time from one synodic cycle to the other. It could be 60 days, it could be 90 days, but it's all dependent on where Venus is within that 10-degree orb, where she's standing behind the sun, and then when she's standing in front of the sun. And once she reaches that other 10-degree orb on the other side, then she rises as the evening star. So that's the distinction between these specific phases of the Venus Synodic Cycle, when we're going from the descent journey to the Inanna Underworld journey to the ascent journey. Now, what's really super spectacular is, we talked in, I think, the January class, last class, that this year, over the course of 2021, some of the big aspects, the big themes and energies that's happening over the course of this year is that Saturn and Uranus are going to square each other 3 times over the course of this year. And while we're in the Inanna Underworld, just 4 days after Venus enters the Inanna world, we're having the first of those Saturn square Uranuses. So this is going to be a huge activation for all of us that we'll talk about in your personal sessions, in terms of how we are being worked in this Inanna Underworld phase. So this is really super huge for us, especially because we know that this is one of 3 events that's happening over the course of the year. The third one happens on December 24th, Christmas Eve, and it's at the end of December that Venus then goes into the metamorphic underworld. So you can see how this first square is really preparing us in the Inanna Underworld for what we will encounter in the ascent journey, which will then take place for the rest of the year until we reach that metamorphic underworld at the end of December. So this is really huge, how all of this is tying together. Now, the day after that square, we've got the sacred masculine in the sky meeting with the moon, Mars conjunct moon, to initiate or activate the 3rd labor of Mars. And of course, we'll discuss that more in the sacred masculine class. On February 21st, Mercury stations direct at 11 degrees. Well, that's really pretty close to where this gate activation is happening, right? This gate activation is happening at 11 degrees, 42 minutes. We round that up to 12 degrees. So it's interesting how intimately involved this Mercury retrograde is with this Earth gate activation, Earth star chakra activation, and also, you know, Venus's time in the Inanna Underworld. Really huge correlations there. What's also interesting, and it was just a coincidence that I discovered this, one of those synchronicities, right? Because we know that there are no coincidences. We invoked Ceres today as the Earth Mother for the work on this Earth Star Chakra activation. And the same day that Mercury is stationing direct, Ceres, the Earth Goddess, Earth Mother Goddess, is entering Aries. So this is a really interesting synchronicity in terms of that activation. And then finally, at the end of the month, we've got the full moon in Virgo. And so I invite each of you, whether you choose to print off this slide from the resource page and post it, or just, you know, take these dates and put them in your calendar, whether it's on your phone or whatever, to do that, so that through the course of this month, you can continue to be aware of and engage with these events as they're unfolding for us. A lot going on this month, a lot. So let's look at what's happening in the heavens then, in terms of the planets that are going retrograde. And you're going to see that this is a really super huge table I've created for you. And that's because over the course of this year, we're going to be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 planets having a retrograde over the course of this entire year. And what I did for Doreen, because Mercury rules her chart, and so these Mercury retrograde periods are really significant for her, is I went ahead and I added into the chart the 3 Mercury retrograde events that are happening this year. And so we can see here, we're already in that first event. At the 21st, that's when Mercury's going to station direct, and then he returns to that point in the sky where he stationed retrograde in March. So as that comes to fruition next month, then that'll come off the table, and I can add one of these down here. These are down here simply because the table, I couldn't make the table large enough, and they're occurring later on in the year. So I'll be adding them as each of these kind of drop off the table. So this is huge that we're still here within this Neptune retrograde period. We see here next month it's returning to its retrograde point. We're in this Uranus vision quest still. Last month Uranus returned or stationed direct, but it's not going to return to that retrograde point until May. And of course, in May is when we come out of the Inanna Underworld and start the ascent journey. So we're still under the influence of this vision quest. And we're still looking at, you know, we just completed one Pluto vision quest in January, and I wrote a blog piece about that, which I shared with you. And just as we complete the one in January, look what's happening. We're getting ready to have another one in April. And isn't this interesting that this vision quest starts to occur while we're in the Inanna Underworld? And so, you know, Pluto is the Lord of the underworld. So this is going to really be impacting us. And notice when it ends. It ends next January. Well, that's right after Venus comes out of the metamorphic underworld and rises as the new goddess, the Capricorn goddess, the goddess of sovereignty. So, you know, this entire year is going to be under that Pluto influence as we continue this Gemini rainbow goddess synodic journey. And then Saturn is going to go retrograde in May. And what's really significant about Saturn is that 3 of us are having major Saturn events this year. Leela is having a Saturn opposition that happened to be exact on my birthday last month. I am having my second Saturn return, and Maureen is having her 3rd Saturn opposition. These Saturn oppositions, meaning Saturn is standing across the sky from where he was when you were born, where his location was when you were born. The return, meaning he has now come around again to that place in the sky where he was standing when you were born. These oppositions and returns between Saturn are huge initiations in our life. So this is going to be affecting the 3 of us specifically in terms of these major life events. And because Saturn moves so slowly, you really feel the effects of these events up to a year before the actual exact activation and up to a year after. Because, for instance, with my second Saturn return, I'm having 3 activations of that over the course of this year. Saturn crosses that point, comes back across that point, and then moves over that point again. 3 activations. Maureen's having 2 activations of her Saturn opposition. And so, you know, Saturn being a slow moving planet, it takes 29 years for it to go around and come back to the same place. We feel these energies for a very long time. It's kind of like putting something in the pressure cooker, right? And you cook it, right? Not in an hour, but over the course of the day or however long it takes for it to become really tender and kind of fall to pieces, right? This is what we're experiencing this year. So as we move further into the year, I'll be adding these and we can be talking about the rest of these, but we see here, this is, you know, Venus is going into the Inanna Underworld now, and we can see here December 19th to January 29th, that's when Venus will be in the metamorphic underworld. And we can see here with Pluto completing that vision quest just 2 days before that metamorphic underworld experience completes. So there's a whole lot of weaving of these energies with these major activations related to, as we're looking at the Venus Synodic Cycle now, and later as we look at the sacred masculine events that are going on with that as well. All of this ties together. And that's why it's really significant for us to be aware of what's going on in the grander scheme, to expand our focus where we can see the forest, and we're not focused on the trees, right? We can see the entire forest. So this is going to be a really empowering year, not only for those of us that are consciously engaging with this, but for humanity as a whole. We know 2021 is a year that is shifting the paradigm. And we're seeing in the smaller ways how that's being shifted. So here's where our new moon is going to be. Oops, sorry. I've got to move this so I can see it. 23 Aquarius. Well, there should be a 2 there. Sorry about that. I'll fix that. 2 February 11th, and then the full moon in Virgo, February 27th. So I'll fix that before I post the slides. So is anything coming up for any of you about the magnitude of what's transpiring while we're going through the Inanna Underworld, which we're going to dive in and look at a little bit more closely, while we're going through the completion of this Venus Synodic Cycle, where we'll be having the ascent and the metamorphic underworld. All of this coming together to support this paradigm shift that humanity is going through at this time. Any ahas at all that you'd like to share?
I guess, for me, it's just been a lot of needing to focus internally. So you kind of highlighted for me during our personal session, just a realization for me that I've been a little bit too externally focused and not really looking inward and listening more. So for me, I think this is just, again, with the retrogrades, like just reinforcing that need to look inside, reflect, listen, and for me personally, just to kind of grow my, kind of my abilities, I guess, in that area.
Excellent, Doreen. You're absolutely right. And this is a really good time to speak to the fact that while I mentioned that Leela and Maureen and I are having these major Saturn events, well, Carrie and Doreen are not being left out of the party. They are both having their Chiron returns this year.
Mhm.
Carrie is having an exact activation on it this month, February 14th, and Doreen begins her first activation in June. So they have been dealing with this Chiron activation, which is a huge initiation, very much related to these underworld experiences. So we're all being really worked on through the at a deeper level, than other Inanna Underworld experiences, other metamorphic underworld experiences. We're being taken deeper into that transformation, that rebirth experience, that regeneration and rebirth experience than we would in any other Venus Synodic Cycle. And I love the fact that, the five of us are here doing this work together when the five of us are really being worked in this way.
Yes.
Okay. So before we move on to the Earth Gate or Earth Star Chakra activation, let's take a little bit of time now here to allow the space for any closure that anybody is desiring to have around this root chakra activation, because that was huge for all of us in our own unique ways. And of course, up until the gate activation in 2 days, we're still within the energies of that seventh gate activation. And what I have found from my own experiences is that it's not a definitive start and stop, open the door, shut the door, that they blend in. Sometimes I will start experiencing the next gate activation while I'm in the middle of one, and I will continue to experience a gate activation while I've already entered another gate. So these are very fluid energies. So anybody that's desiring to speak to anything that's come up, any ahas, any awarenesses since we've had our personal sessions to close out this gate activation, anything that's desiring to be acknowledged, to be spoken to.
Well, I can say that coming into this, into the root chakra, I was having a lot of physical discomfort in the areas where the root chakra is. And that doesn't surprise me because I tend to have very physical reactions to whatever's going on in my environment. And so that didn't surprise me. What surprises me, though, is that it has settled. One thing that I did do is I took my horse for a nice ride, just him and me. And that's a very important space that takes place and that it happens where he and I can have that space to do it alone together. And I focused on the earth chakra, that because when I ride, my feet are dangling, and that gives me a really good opportunity to work on the energy space between myself and that chakra, because it becomes actual for realsies, and then I'm able to manifest it physically, and that helps. And so I found that I have less root instability now that I'm focused on the earth. But I can tell you that generally speaking, I feel a bit stripped of old powers and empowered with new ones right now. And I find it to be a bit unsettling. It's welcome. It's not an unwelcome feeling, but I'm definitely rebalancing. And some of that is energetic, and some of that is psychological, as we go down into the deep, dark depths of where we go. And as Scorpio exponentialized, I have so much of it in my chart, there's this need to kind of go into those dark places and find the issues and bring them to light. And having done that a lot, having done a lot of journeys, and having now being in my midlife Chiron, very, very powerful experience going on, I'm finding that I am both confident in what I have accomplished thus far, while finding myself oddly a little insecure about what's happening now and what's to come.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm hopeful that as we start talking about the Earth Gate chakra and the Inanna Underworld experience, that some of that insecurity will be alleviated. So, anybody else? Go ahead, Carrie.
I certainly expect it to, as we start to make our way back out and I get some of my old goodies back.
Well, and it's interesting that you say, get my old goodies back, because Maureen and I have had a discussion about the ascent journey and the message that she received at the new moon in Capricorn last month, January. And the message was build from scratch. And so while typically when we're doing a Venus Synodic Cycle, the message to us has been, you know, on the descent journey, you're letting go, you're letting go, you're letting go. You're giving away your power, you're giving away your power as you're getting rid of this vestment and you're getting rid of that vestment. Then we go through the Inanna Underworld, where we have this, you know, conscious and shamanic death experience. And then when we rise through the ascent, we're reclaiming as we get each new royal vestment. And this time, that's not what's going to happen. We are not reclaiming power. We are building from scratch. And so we are claiming the new power that we will have expanded into as a result of this Inanna Underworld experience. And to kind of put this in a mental picture, you know, when you come through the first gate on the ascent, you're not getting back the same robe that you surrendered. You're getting a whole new robe that has a whole new level of empowerment that you did not have when you surrendered the previous robe. Can you kind of follow that imagery?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a shift in perception that is really significant for us to have, so that we're not perceiving the fact that we're going to be reclaiming power that we gave away, that we are in fact claiming power that we have expanded into, power that we have not before held within us on this planet in this lifetime.
So don't count on it feeling familiar.
And that's an interesting observation, because it will feel familiar, because when we step into that greatness, we have already on the soul level become that. All we're doing is catching up with it and allowing it to be held within our bodies, within our sacred vessels in a way that we have not allowed before. So it can feel very familiar because we've already become that.
Like coming home.
Yes, yes.
And Sophia Molis, I think for me, it's just been a lot of messages to let go, just to really trust more. And the messages has been like, you're coming through the dark, right? Like you're coming through the dark, you're going to see the light soon. So that's been kind of the messages that I've been getting that are showing up for me during this time.
That's wonderful to have that reassurance coming in for you. And yes, that is the theme of the entire descent journey. Letting go, letting go, letting go. It's kind of like an onion, right? You let go of one layer and you've got another layer. Now you let go of that layer and you have the next layer. And we've been going through this process of going deeper and deeper and deeper, letting go layers upon layers upon layers. So yeah, that is the theme of this entire descent journey. Very good. Very good. Maureen, would you like to share anything more about this phenomenal message that has so many meanings on so many layers, that is applicable to so many perceptions about what's happening through this Venus Synodic Cycle, with this message that you received at the new moon in Capricorn about building from scratch?
Yeah, I can't do that until I'm in the underworld. I can't begin to until I start the ascent. There are things concerning the root chakra that I thought I had dealt with, that I, and generally my experiences are not physical, they're mental, they're spiritual. Probably because of my ascendant, Scorpio, I don't know. I just dig deep into things that are more watery, more emotional. And so my emotions concerning the root chakra have a lot of dross, as we say, that pulls you in the wrong direction. They're no longer relevant, but you can't get past them. And so yesterday I was reminded of that with a very large emotional outburst. And I honestly didn't think I had those to be outburst anymore. I really thought my emotions were changed, and they're still there. The wounds are still there. And so when I go into the underground, I'm going to have to burn that. I'm going to have to burn that to the ground. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't expect it to be in any way an uplifting experience until it's done. But that's where I am right now. And it's just very sobering for me to have gone through that again and seeing that it's still there. It's still a part of me. And at this point, in this third Saturn opposition, this is the opportunity to do that. I have to do that. That's why I'm going in. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to burn all that third dimension crap to the ground. And then I can start from scratch.
Wow. I mean, that's a hugely empowered and powerful declaration of intention.
Yeah.
And of course, I would expect nothing less from you with your Scorpio goddess overtone and your Scorpio ascendant and your Pluto in your 10th house, the work that you are known for. Beautiful. And think about the awareness heightening that you've had, that we've all had. And especially you, Maureen, having this deep, deep recognition of, wow, there are still these subtle frequencies there that have shown up for me that I am ready to let go of. That's really huge.
Yes, I know that it is, and uh, I am really excited about all the ascent gates. They're all going to be so different than they've been, but I think especially looking forward to the throat chakra gate. That's the one where I simply have to be able to express better in a more definite and true way. I have to, there's no hiding. And Scorpio, by the way, is really good at hiding. You can hide a lot of things about yourself, including who you are to other people, so that when you walk in front of them, when you are in a different place than where they normally see you, they don't recognize you. You can hide in a room where they don't normally expect to see you, and they don't. And that's a part of my Scorpio energy, and I've used it very, very effectively. I know how to use this energy to hide, and I can't do that either anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. And I love how you spoke to this eager anticipation for the throat chakra activation on the ascent journey, because that, whether you're aware of it or not, is really tying back to the role that Mercury is playing on his retrograde journey with us, and these conjunctions that he's having related to the Inanna Underworld.
Mhm.
Mercury is already preparing you to do just that thing.
That's good,
Exactly.
because I'm in it with you, Maureen. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to with the throat chakra. When I'm going to start now, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the empowerment that comes with passing back up through there to help along with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad.
Leela, I see you taking all of this in and just, wow. How about you? What are your final words that you'd like to speak to your own experience or anything that you're witnessing here?
Yeah, I resonate deeply with a lot of what's been shared. I feel there's definitely a shedding that is being called for, and I'm noticing it, and even trying to do things in the same way doesn't feel right, and it feels a little unsettling in the space of, it's like, well, this is what I need to do right now, and I can change it later. And like, it's like my soul is like, no, it needs to change. I'm like, what do I do in the meantime? Because and it's interesting because I've even noticed that around like work and things like that, where I feel like this, and we've talked about it in our personal sessions many times, like there's new work that's emerging through me, but it's still kind of in this liminal space. And it feels okay until I'm like, well, I have to do things in the meantime until it comes through. But there's this kind of dance in that sometimes it feels just like I'm kind of in this in-between place between where I was and where I'm going, and just kind of just trusting. Like that's the big word that's been so huge for me, is the trust. Trust that I'm supported, trust that I have everything I need. And that just to continue to move forward and make my connection to the earth every day. Like that's like a big part of my practice. I go for a walk in the forest every day. I make that a priority in my life, because I know that it really grounds me, and my connection to nature actually inspires me, and it fuels me, and it brings me back into a place of simplicity. And I feel like that's what this place is. It's like, just focus on the simple things in life, and to trust that everything that is unfolding in its divine timing. And it feels that I'm, yeah, each day having to really just come back into my center, and my sovereignty, really, of not being affected by everything that's going on in the external. Like, I still feel like I'm quite an internal part, of my being, like in this sort of metamorphosis of my own place of, coming out of my Uranus opposition into my Saturn opposition. Like, the last couple of years have been full on, lots of transformation happening. And I still, like, I can see it, and I can feel like some of the shifts, but it hasn't fully grounded in yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and what I love is that you spoke to the fact that you're aware of, the way that you did things before, they're not working for you now. And so what I'd like to bring into to that awareness heightening for you is that, we're encountering this sacred feminine journey with Venus, but we're also encountering a sacred masculine journey with Mars. And in the Mars Synodic Cycle, we've just very recently entered the special world. We've crossed the threshold from the ordinary world into the special world. And this month, of course, we're having the activation of the third labor, but these labors happen in the special world, where the things that we did before are not working for us, where the rules that we followed before don't work in this world. The skills that we had before, they're not going to help us here, because it's the special world. And so I find it fascinating that as you're encountering this descent journey, that on a conscious level, you are actually translating this the sacred masculine journey as well, being aware on some level that you're now in the special world, and the old stuff doesn't work in this world. The rules are different.
Yeah, it's been like, that liminal space. It feels that, especially over the last couple of weeks, and now with all this energy in Aquarius, I find that, it's so easy for my energy to go so vast, and like, so, and then I'm like, okay, right, what am I doing right now? Like, focus. Like, I have to really stay in my body. It's really easy for me to be really out there, and I'm not that that's uncommon for me, but it's like a new kind of level. It's like living in a frequency that is new, really. That's what it really feels like. My frequency has really up leveled in a way that it's like, and it doesn't feel necessarily uncomfortable, but it's just this like there's a settling, into this.
Yes. And this is how the Saturn square Uranus is going to be significant for you, in terms of having just come out of that Uranus opposition, now in this Saturn opposition. This is still working you. And so what's going to be happening is this up leveling that you're describing, and your frequency is now being given an opportunity through these squares, right? These breakthroughs, opportunities for breakthroughs in consciousness. How can I take this up leveling of my frequency that I'm so aware of and can go out into, and bring that within the space of my sacred vessel, Uranus and Taurus, bringing that out and in, so that I can play in those higher frequencies, and I'm grounded at the same time, because I've allowed the space within me to expand, to hold them. This is going to be a huge theme for you.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Is there anything else anybody would like to speak to around the closure of the root chakra, or are we ready to move forward? You're ready to move forward? If you could give me a thumbs up. Excellent, excellent. That's a huge piece, fabulous. All right, well, before we get there, we have been talking about, once we became aware of it, the role that Juno, the goddess of sacred partnership, has been playing with us through this entire descent journey, all of the ways that she has been activating us. And so here she is now at this Earth Star gate. She's activating the gate, the actual gate. This is huge. And you're going to see when we get to this that we have a grand cross at this, in the sky at this gate activation. And she's, intimately involved with that grand cross opposition. So she's still very much a part of us through all of this. And it came clear to me very recently that, and I've spoken to Leela about this in her personal session, that, we talk about the balance of the inner feminine and the inner masculine. And so that's one balance, one partnership that Juno helps us with. And then on another level, we talk about, okay, there's us as the personality and our inner being, who is an extension of source. And that sacred relationship that Juno helps us come into balance with. And now through this Gemini rainbow goddess journey, and I spoke about this in the very first class. I said in the very first class, this Gemini rainbow goddess journey is about bridging the two spheres of the brain, the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere, and going from this area to a higher manifestation where we are now being able to at will engage with the unified source field. Well, when we're engaged at the unified source field level, then we are having a sacred partnership with ourselves as a multi-dimensional being. So we're not seeing ourselves as 3D beings. We are having this sacred partnership with the fullness of who we are as multi-dimensional beings. And this is really the role that Juno has been playing for us through this entire descent journey. And yes, she may have helped us with the sacred partnership between our inner feminine and our inner masculine. And yes, she may have helped us with our sacred partnership between ourselves and our inner being, who is the extension of source. And beyond that, really the intention, it's very clear to me as I follow through all of this, the intention overall has been allowing us to create this sacred partnership between who we have known ourselves to be as 3D beings and who we are as multi-dimensional beings, and how we can embody our multi-dimensional selves within this sacred vessel that we call our physical bodies. So this is another really significant piece of what this whole Venus Synodic Cycle, the Gemini rainbow goddess journey is about for us. And it's fascinating to me because I'm for the first time hearing each of you start to speak to that as we get down to this Earth Star Chakra activation. Is there anything anybody would like to share around that awareness and recognition? Okay. So let's look at the Earth Star Chakra. Now, Leela's been working with the chakra system for a long time. I have as well. And as people that work with the chakra system, I know Maureen has as well. I don't know how consciously engaged Carrie and Doreen have been, but if you have been, what you will be aware of is everybody has their own perception about the chakra system and what it does and what it doesn't do, and you know how you can balance and how you can open. And there's a lot of thoughts, a lot of perceptions within the collective consciousness about the chakra system. And so this is also true for the Earth Star Chakra. There are bodies of information out there that don't even acknowledge the Earth Star Chakra or the Soul Star Chakra. And then those that do, they all have different takes on, well, where is the Earth Star Chakra located? What does the Earth Star Chakra mean? And so, you know, to try to find a consensus point regarding this chakra can be a little tricky. And so I will take this opportunity to give you my perception about this, and it may resonate with you or not, and you may have your own perception around this chakra that you have been receiving guidance on. And all of it's okay. All of it is right on. It's, you know, it goes back to the story about the blind men touching the elephant, and you know, one has the trunk and one has the tail and one has the leg, and they think that because they have that piece that they've described the whole elephant, and we know that that's not so. So all of these perceptions and understandings are welcome, and this is my perception. I perceive our auric field, our light body that extends from this column of chakras, to be in what's called this shape of an egg, or in the Hindu tradition, the lingam, the primordial shape. I've got one here for creation, the lingam. And so while some people will say, oh, the earth chakra is below your feet, it's an extension of your feet as a chakra from your feet. Okay, I don't perceive that. Some people will say, well, the Earth Star Chakra is 18 inches below you. So where are you? It's funny that Carrie talked about the fact that when she's riding her horse and her feet are dangling, okay, well now her feet aren't touching the ground. So where is that Earth Star Chakra? And so for me, what makes sense and what feels really good is that the Earth Star Chakra is this point, this base point of the auric field, whereas the Soul Star Chakra is this point, the top point of the auric field. And we know from moment to moment that our auric field expands, and sometimes if we're not feeling well, it contracts. And so to say that it's 18 feet below your feet, to me, in terms of an image, is very limiting. Whereas if I say, okay, my Earth Star Chakra is at the base of wherever my auric field is, feels much more fluid, much more dynamic. And so I don't know how that resonates with each of you. I'm just offering that as one interpretation of where is this Earth Star Chakra and how you can mentally image and connect with it. Now, most of the information that is on this page about the Earth Star Chakra came from this book. I don't know if everybody can see it. It's called Astrology and the Rising of Kundalini. She has a whole section in here on the chakras. What's interesting, speaking of different interpretations of the chakra system, she does include the Earth Star Chakra, but she doesn't include the sacral chakra. She kind of combines the root chakra and the sacral chakra together. So, you know, this speaks to the fact that everybody has their own perception about these energy centers. And it's important for you to follow your own guidance in terms of what these energy centers are, where they're located within you, and how you engage with them. But Barbara Handclough has some really interesting information to share about the Earth Star Chakra. And I've shared this book with Maureen and Carrie, Doreen and Leela. This is a fabulous book because it speaks to these significant life initiations that happen to us specifically in our midlife and then beyond. talks about the Uranus opposition. It talks about the first Pluto square Pluto. It talks about your Saturn returns and your Saturn oppositions. And so while you may not buy into everything she shares, and in my own way, I have tweaked some of the information that she has shared in terms of my understanding, it's a really good foundational book for diving into those major life events that all of us are experiencing over the course of this year. So I recommend it.
It's my Bible.
Got this, Leela?
Oh yeah, I got the original book when it was called the something about sex, the liquid light of sex.
Yes, I remember when it was called that. Yes.
It's honestly, I got it before I started my Uranus opposition, and it's been so helpful.
Yes.
I've actually really helped me to guide other people that are going through similar things, because there's some amazing just insight work in there that's helped me to reflect on my own journey.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a really good foundational piece, because as you're going through your own journeys, what I've discovered for myself is that what she shares, which is so groundbreaking, then, it's always evolving. I mean, I don't know when this book was first written.
I think in the early 90s.
Yeah, first copyright is in 1991. Here we are to 2021.
30
That's
years.
like what, 3 decades? This information that she brought through at that time has evolved since then. And so while this will give you a great foundational piece to start working with as you're experiencing this information, be open to how you are receiving the evolved information as you're working with it. And this is in fact what's happened for me regarding the Saturn returns and the Saturn oppositions. Very valuable piece of wisdom. So let's look now here at what she has to say about the Earth Star Chakra. And isn't it interesting, speaking of 30 years later, how there aren't a whole lot of people out there offering information around this Earth Star Chakra? Not that I've been able to find yet. Maybe there is, and I just haven't found it yet. So I think that she was probably a pioneer in talking about this particular chakra. One of the quotes in this chapter on the Earth Star Chakra, which I love, is when she says, our first connection must be to the earth, our mother. And this is why we did the invocation to Ceres, because what she tells us is that it's the Earth Star Chakra that holds us in our bodies. And she goes on and talks about the fact that many people have imbalances or blocks in this chakra based on the conditions that were present at our birth. And if you think about, like, when my mother was giving birth to me in the 60s, now people have their husbands in there and they're videotaping. No, my mother was put out. She was knocked out. Until it was all
After
over.
she put her cigarette out. She got to finish her cigarette first in the hospital, because that's.
And we know that hospitals are very harsh, sterile environments, and they're not a welcoming environment for a new soul to come onto the planet. And then of course we had this shift where people were getting doulas and doing home births, and some of them were even doing births where they were in the water and having the dolphins sing to them. I mean, there's been a whole transformation around the consciousness of how we bring souls onto this planet, birth them into the planet, and all of those ways affect how we are anchored into this Earth Star Chakra. And so she even says, this is a quote from her, "This may explain why those with blocked Earth chakras often are exceedingly spiritual. Spirit has opened the upper chakras at birth to protect the baby's connection to its soul in the spirit realm and to keep the baby alive in the third dimension in the midst of the harsh hospital environment. I mean, that's really quite an aha to take in. And so what's fascinating is she tells us that the use of power spots on the planet is one of the ways indigenous people ground infants. To think of the polarity, right, between being born in a natural environment, being laid on your mother's belly, being able to have you and your mother at a power spot to ground you into your earth star chakra as you arrive on this planet, versus being born in a harsh hospital environment. Sometimes the mothers don't even get to hold the babies before they're whisked away. You know, my mother being completely knocked out and not at all being present, which explains the fact that for so much of my life, through childhood and into my young adulthood, I felt no emotional connection to my mother. In fact, I used to joke and say, if people had not been telling me for 26 years or whatever it was, 33 years, that this is my mother, I would not know it, because I don't feel that mother-daughter bond, that mother-daughter connection. Of course, I've been able to heal that now, but that is a huge manifestation of, you know, this earth chakra, earth star chakra being blocked, being disconnected from that chakra. A blocked earth star chakra may indicate a childhood of little parental love, or a childhood of feeling unwanted, especially these children that are told, oh, you were an accident, right? They have a whole generation of siblings older than them, and now they were the accident. I mean, talk about a situation that could disconnect you from your earth star chakra. Or feeling like a burden, you know, feeling like a burden to maybe, you know, there's some poverty or financial issues in the family that they were born into, and now you're just one more mouth to feed. And how many times I've seen on these genealogy programs where, you know, kids that have been given away are looking for their birth parents, and they find out that the reason they were given away is their family just couldn't afford them, and so they were looking for them to have a better life than what they could afford for them. So these are ways in which we become disconnected from the earth star chakra, where we can have blocks, imbalances in the earth star chakra. This is interesting because I did experience this. People with blocks in this chakra often feel like earth is not their home. They feel like they're from another planet, that they've been dropped on this planet, and now what do I do? How do I be in this planet? This is so foreign to me. And so it's because they never got to get grounded in the earth star chakra. And there's a whole discussion you can have about the fact that as multidimensional beings and other star civilizations that we have those that encoded in our DNA. Okay, but in terms of really feeling like this earth planet is not your home, go back to not having been properly grounded in this chakra when you were born. And so, you know, some of the ways that you can help yourself get reconnected and to clear those imbalances in your earth star chakra is some of the ways that each of you have spoken to, you know, walking barefoot on the ground, swimming in a river, soaking in hot springs, hugging a tree, lying on the earth. What do kids do? They lie in the grass and they look at the sky. This is connecting them into their earth star chakra. I love this idea that Barbara Handclough offers. She says, lie on the earth as if you're lying on your mother's belly at birth. I mean, what a huge intention for connecting with your earth star chakra and for the earth mother goddess to help you come back into feeling really grounded on this planet. Are there any other ways that any of you may have experienced the manifestation of having any blocks or imbalances in this chakra? Okay, then.
Sophia, I was going to say, Sophia and Lisa, I mean, I'm trying to think about blockages and imbalances to your question, but I know after, we had our session, I did go out and I love my willow tree, but I went out to kind of look at other trees on the, on the property that I felt connected to. And there's this one tree that it comes, out from the side of the bank of the stream, and it curls like this. And so I laid down on it, and it just cradled me. And then I was able to put my feet up against like the side of the earth and the bank that's holding this tree at this, really precarious angle. And so that I think that's going to be kind of one of my new spots, just to connect and, kind of feel that. And I know this weekend we have a lot of snow, but, Tom and I said, we're just going to, do the snow angel thing. And we just kind of laid there in the snow and just felt connected even with the snow, even though it's, couldn't, touch necessarily the earth, but we were on top of just laying on the snow and connecting with it. So yeah, so I think I've been focusing on that. I don't know about I have to think more about the question about imbalances.
And that's a beautiful experience to have, Doreen. I mean, that's just, engaging the earth, engaging the water, and even the snow angels. Snow is made from water, of course. And so the snow being supported by the earth, engaging the earth, water elements, which are very feminine and elements. And that's a beautiful example of how to connect and ground in those ways. Thank you so much for sharing that. What it's important to understand is that not every Venus Synodic Cycle activates the Earth Star Chakra and the Soul Star Chakra. On the ascent journey, we will be activating this Soul Star Chakra. It doesn't happen with every synodic cycle. And, the thought came to me, it would be interesting to know, how often does it happen? Is it 1 out of every 30? Does it happen every so many years? I don't really know the answers to those questions, only that I'm aware that not every synodic cycle activates these chakras. And so this is particularly poignant for us as we're going through this synodic cycle, and even more so as, Wednesday is the activation. And then what did I say? Was it 3 days later, Venus descends into the underworld. And so we can see how for us at this time in this cycle, engaging this Earth Star Chakra is really preparing us in a way that we're not always prepared as we go into this Inanna Underworld. So this Earth Star Chakra is called the Death by Intent Gate. Death by Intent Gate. And so, as I just said, it is preparing us. We got 3 days to prepare, preparing us for this shamanic death that we're going to be experiencing over the next 60 some days. Okay. And so by the time we reach this gate, Inanna has surrendered all of her royal vestments. She has surrendered her attachments. She has surrendered her distortions. And most poignantly, here she stands, fully naked, powerless, and vulnerable. And you can think back to times in your lives when you were having to stand naked before whatever the circumstances were, and how you may have felt powerless and vulnerable. It's a huge place of vulnerability to be able to stand naked in front of someone, anyone, whether it's your partner, whether it's your child, as you're an elder person having to be cared for by a child, whether it's your parent, any of these ways, having to stand fully naked and be seen fully naked is a hugely vulnerable experience. And this is what's happening. This is the energy behind what's happening at this gate. And so do not at all be surprised if you encounter some kind of experience or even just an emotional reaction to something that makes you feel like you're standing naked in front of somebody. Okay. And in terms of preparing for the shamanic death that we're going into, this is really, when you look at the stages of the caterpillar coming into the chrysalis, where in the chrysalis, it just completely dissolves itself into the primordial soup from which it will be reborn as the butterfly, right? A new manifestation of itself. This too is what's happening here. This is where we are creating that chrysalis around us to protect us as we go into this Inanna Underworld to experience this shamanic death. And what's interesting to know about this chrysalis is it's not hard like a chick in an egg, and the chick has to, break through that hard shell. No, this chrysalis is still a pretty soft membrane so that the butterfly can emerge from it somewhat effortlessly, at least more effortlessly than a chick trying to break through a shell. And it's that struggle of breaking through, whether it's the chrysalis or the eggshell, that gives us the strength to be able to thrive now in the new environment that we're breaking into. And so this whole gate is really about preparing us and getting us ready to fully let go. I mean, think about those exercises, those bonding exercises that people have where they say, okay, stand in front of your partner and allow yourself to fall back and trust that they're going to catch you. I mean, that's, again, a very vulnerable place to be in, and to let yourself go, to fall back that way, takes a huge amount of trust, doesn't it? And this is the kind of letting go and the kind of trust that we have to consciously engage during this Inanna Underworld. I mean, think about kids when they're playing. I don't know if you've ever done this, where one kid, lays on the ground on their back with their knees up, and the other kid sits in the feet, and then the kid on its back, pushes the other kid up into the air, and they're flying through the air until they land on the ground again. It's that kind of letting go. And what's interesting is, as I was looking at this, just as it always happens to be, I received an Abraham Hicks recording that spoke to this very thing. And this was a beautiful analogy that Abraham gave, because I was really reaching for a great analogy to reframe for us what this Inanna Underworld process is all about, so that we don't enter this process in a place of hesitation or trepidation, that we can allow ourselves to really dive into it. And so I don't know if you can see in the background here, but you'll see it on the next slide. The guest in the hot seat says, "I'm excited to move forward, but I'm afraid to let go." I mean, what a perfect statement for what we're getting ready to go through. And so what Abraham says, which is just beautiful, is the really good trapeze artists, they fly for a while and they like flying. Those that just hang on and then hang on, right? They're never letting go of the bar. They're never letting go. Nobody goes to see them because that's not much fun. But those that let go and fly through the air, whoa. So, do you not trust that there's something there that's going to catch you? If you don't believe there's something there to catch you, then don't let go. Instead, though, you can focus on trusting that someone's there. There's something there that you're letting go of and that you're going to. And when you want to make where you're going to more real. If where you're going doesn't feel as real as where you are, it wouldn't be wise to let go. But the work is to make where you're going so real that you can't not go there. So this is what the Inanna Underworld is all about. We've been through this descent journey where we've let go of layers and layers and layers of ourselves. And what are those layers that we've let go of? They're layers of ourselves that no longer serve our expansion. This is an analogy of the creation process. We're letting go so that we can let go of those trapeze, the bars, and fly to whatever else is there that we're going to land in. And that what we're landing in is a greater expression of ourselves, a more evolved expression of ourselves. So when we're looking at the Inanna Underworld as a shamanic death, what we see here is that the myth of Inanna, which is used as a representation of the Venus Synodic Cycle, is an allegory for these death and rebirth mysteries. The death and rebirth mysteries, which were so much a part of these ancient mystery schools that people talk about from Egypt and other cultures. The death and rebirth mysteries being an allegory for this creation process. And so, yes, here Inanna chooses a conscious shamanic death, and she's choosing it for an empowered rebirth. What is the empowered rebirth? Birthing into a larger manifestation of yourself, the manifestation of yourself that you have already evolved to, that you haven't quite caught up with yet. And so now you're allowing that to be within you. And so these are some of the intentions of the shamanic death. It's to let go of an aspect of your life that is no longer serving your soul's expansion. This shamanic death process is a part of the creative process that allows us to continue to evolve and expand. And specifically for this Venus cycle, and the fact that this is happening in the Aquarian energies for this gate goes back to what I've described before, allowing us to shift from seeing ourselves as embodiments in a 3D reality to seeing ourselves as embodiments of our multidimensional self that allows us to engage a 5D and above reality, that new earth that people are talking about that is being created, that we are ascending to. Well, we have that ascent process coming up that's going to allow us to reclaim more and more of those higher frequencies of ourself as a multidimensional being that we're going to be bringing in. And that's what's happening through this Inanna Underworld. And so every time we go into the underworld, we're developing more and more mastery of these death and rebirth mysteries. And some of the initiations that require this same kind of absolute surrender, the 5 of us are experiencing. Leela, Maureen, and I with the Saturn return and the Saturn oppositions, Doreen and Carrie with the Chiron return. So we are getting like a spotlight. I mean, it's kind of a bad analogy because you think about you're going into the Inanna Underworld, it's dark down there, but it's really like a spotlight on us down there, getting a whole more potent experience of this death and rebirth mastery, so that we can break free from this 3D limitation into that 5D multi-dimensional self. And this goes back to what Maureen had already intuited, that we're not reclaiming power that we've given away. We are claiming new power that we have not yet embodied. So the question is, how does this awareness heightening shift your ability to face this Inanna Underworld process, to dive in, which we will be doing in the next, what is it? 5-6 days. Has the dread and the trepidation and the doubt been alleviated, and if not alleviated, at least softened? How about you, Carrie?
I didn't really have dread or doubt, so I can't say that it's softened. I think that
And you did speak to the uncertainty. You had uncertainty.
yeah, and that is what I feel more now than I did before. So I wouldn't say I feel relief from that. I would say I feel that more intensely now than I did before.
And so,
But I don't feel fear.
right. But the uncertainty that you feel, what is it? Can you connect it to anything? Is it that if I let go and fly, I'm uncertain of what's there to catch me? Or is it something different?
There's something there to catch me. No, I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of in blurry anticipation.
What was the first word?
Blurry anticipation. Like I can't see. Usually I can see, and I don't see. But I'm okay with that because seeing usually only gets me in trouble anyway. So uncertainty, yeah, but not really trepidation about it. It's just I'm waiting for it. Something's coming.
So you're feeling that something is coming and you don't know what it is. Is that what the uncertainty is about?
Correct. And so I can't even anticipate because it's so uncertain. I can't anticipate. So I don't find that negatively disturbing though. I find that kind of thrilling. But I don't want to be disappointed either. So I'm just not really putting a whole lot of energy. I'm just taking everything as it comes, just taking it as it comes. That's all I can do right now is take things as they come. I got my own stuff all situated. All I can do is take what comes and then hope I'm up for it. All this training. I hope I'm up
Well,
for
and
it.
that's the beautiful thing about it, is because we are up for it. We are up for it. We've been prepared for it. And so, yes, there is that uncertainty because we don't know what it's going to look like on the other side or what's showing up on the other side, but we've been prepared for it.
And Sophia Monalise, I think, for me, I'm one of those individuals that always has like that dream, right? That I was in class and they're giving you a test and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? Oh my goodness, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready, right? Like I have so much more I need to learn. Like I say that all the time. So I think for me, this like jumping right to the next trapeze for me is like you just said, it's really trusting in I am prepared. I've been given the tools that I need to make this next leap, and just reminding me to let go of what was in the past, like and part of my like recent past, I'm so ready to let it go. So again, I'm not really quite sure, like Carrie's saying either, like it is a little bit of a blind, okay, are you ready? Here you go. And it's going to be there, you know, the bar is going to be there when you make that leap. But, you know, for me, it's kind of letting that go, trusting, and then knowing that I have been given the skills I need to make this next leap, and knowing that whatever else I do need will come to me.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, as you were describing that, I was having this vision of that movie, Indiana Jones, and whatever the name of it is, where they're going for the Holy Grail. And his father has the notebook with, you know, all of the things that they got to say to get through to the Holy Grail. Of course, they don't know what any of it means or what it's going to look like, but somehow they're related. And then he gets to the edge where he's supposed to take this leap of faith from the lion's mouth, and he sees this huge chasm between where he's standing and the other side, and he's thinking, how in the world can I make a leap of faith? But he goes ahead and he musters the courage to do it anyway. And when he sets his foot down, there's that bridge, that stone bridge between the two sides that shows up under his feet. And that was very much what was coming into my mind as you were describing that.
Mm. Yeah.
How about you, Maureen? Because you've got a huge intention for this Inanna Underworld.
Yes, I just was looking at some, I have a app on my phone. It's called Time Passages, where you can see where all the planets are in relationship to your natal chart every day. And so it's been showing me that, you know, my Saturn opposed is opposite my natal Saturn, of course, and it shows me the degrees that it's coming up on. What my app says is that the gate to the underworld is exact with my Saturn opposition. It is the same.
Wow.
Which is interesting to me because Saturn opposing Saturn in your natal chart is supposedly an actual death gate. A person can choose to leave Earth at that gate, should they so choose. It's like a little escape route, you know, like you've just decided you've done what you came to do, you don't want to stay anymore, you can just leave. Well, that's obviously not me. I've got a ton more to do, but the fact that those two things come exactly the same shows me that there is no safety net here for me. It's either I go through the shamanic death process without a safety net, or I die. You know, I mean, it's either or here for me. It's not a matter of imagining, it's there. That's what this is. And so at this point, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to take that step, and I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think I'm going to die, but if I do, everybody knows that I chose to. So don't be upset. I'm just not going to, I don't think, but you never know at a soul level what is planned. But anyway, that is an interesting point in my experience, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm just going to do it, whatever it is. So it's just interesting to me that those two things are happening at exactly the same time. The exact point of my Saturn opposing my natal Saturn is the same point as the underworld. Yeah. So, whew, right?
My experience is that safety nets aren't for realsies. They're things that we make up to give ourselves courage. And as we get older, we become more and more aware of that safety net not really existing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm painfully aware because of a process that I have recently gone through leading up to this Venus Synodic Cycle. That really the realization that the safety net isn't real is earth shattering. And so maybe that is the scary part of the underworld, is that when we get there, we realize all we can do is rely on ourselves, our own resources, and our communion with our higher self. And so whether we're actually literally alone in the underworld or metaphorically alone in the underworld, I think that's what we end up is in this moment,
Yeah,
alone. And that is the scary part.
it is.
But the more you build up resilience and a history of success with self, which is why this work, we're all much older. We're not coming into this as children. We're not prepared to do this kind of work as children. We're not prepared to lose the safety net. I had to be like almost 50 to be prepared to really accept that the safety net that I thought I had was false. It was a lie. And so I think this is a process of stripping lies, and it's very, very, very painful. And you talked about not being seen, Maureen. You talk about Scorpios being able to hide. I think that this, I've been thinking about, I don't intentionally hide. Got a lot of Scorpio in my chart, and it is my sun sign as well. But I actually am not much of a hider. But what I have started to notice in my 40s, and I had to go abroad for it to hit me upside my head, where I'm like, how can you not see me? I look so different from everybody. How can I be invisible? How can I be invisible when I had a crisis in Asia like you had in France? How can I be invisible? And I've just started to learn. I think I've just started to understand. It's a lot like Asmodeus's staff. It's this frequency when you get into the truth space, and Scorpios are great at that truth space, that deconstruct, that death of self and rebirth, the truth of things. The truth is so hard to see that the more you exemplify it, the more you insist on it in your life, the more it becomes part of your world, the harder it is to be seen. And I do think there's a correlation between not being seen and not having a safety net, which brings me back to this, but I'm not exactly, still doing a lot of work, a lot of writing down.
Yeah. Well, I would, that's really, I love that enlightenment you've shared. That's really very true. I remember one of the last underworlds I was in France with Sophia Mona Lisa, and I experienced a fall where I had a real serious concussion. And I think it feels like now, as I'm approaching the underworld once again, that I could have left then. It was a serious fall. I could have gone. But for one thing, and I've never told Sophia Mona Lisa this before, but all I could hear as I was lying on the floor at the bottom of those stairs is her calling my name. over and over and over and over again until I could finally say, I'm okay. I really think that you kept me here because we had work to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
So maybe there are safety nets.
Well, I think she called me back. I really do. And I'm going forward with my work with her. I don't know. It's just something that's kind of swirled around after listening to you all talk about this. And I'm thinking, yeah, there may be something there I'm trusting that I wasn't aware of before. And I thank you all for that. I'm not afraid, I never was, but understanding that there's more that I wasn't aware of, more that I can be aware of when I enter that gate. Yeah. Sophia Mona Lisa, you called your partner back. Oh.
Well, I'm a little speechless, which I know is probably hard to believe. That is truly profound, and I deeply appreciate you sharing that. And it just speaks to the fact that, you know, she and I are profound soul sisters, profoundly. And because you all know, there's no secret that I am a great believer in the law of attraction. You know, what you believe is, you know, what you create. And so when there are these perceptions, beliefs, perceptions that there is no safety net, or that safety nets are fake or a lie, then that's what you'll experience. And so all I would encourage you to do is to take the opportunity to see how you can shift some of those belief systems. Because it's interesting how you kind of came back around full circle and said, well, maybe there are safety nets. And so if
Yeah.
you're willing to open the crack to, well, maybe there are safety nets, perhaps you can allow yourself to discern for yourself, well, what does that safety net look like for me? It's certainly not what I thought it was or was told that it would look like. And if they do exist, then how does it show up for me?
I'm just, I feel for myself like my journey with safety has been big, of not feeling safe in my body, not feeling safe in this world as a child, and moving through that, you know, very strong Cancerian themes of safety, and having to come to a place where trusting that safety lives within me, and that, you know, that I am safe. But also my connection to the Divine Mother. It's like, I know that, like, she holds me, she supports me. I can trust in that. It's been shown to me time and time again. And also like the safety net of this, of all of the unseen beings, of like the angels, of our guides, of spirit. Like, yeah, like I know how held I am, you know, and I feel like for me that's my safety net. It doesn't have to look in a tangible way. The earth is tangible, but it's so much deeper than that, you know. It's this place where I have everything I need. And it's taken me a long time to come to this place, and it still wavers sometimes, but it's, you know, really like that piece that I mentioned before, so much of this has been about trust. And that, like you said, right, if we don't believe it, then how is it possible? And so it's just that trusting that I don't have to see things to know that they are real.
True.
And Carrie, one of your safety nets, I think, is looking at you right through the window now. So,
Well, if animals count, I'm loaded.
yeah.
Really.
I find it interesting that Leela speaks to this trusting things that are unseen. And of course, when we go into the Inanna Underworld, we are not able to see. And Carrie herself even spoke to, I can't
I
see
can see.
what's going to be there.
Mhm.
And so this is a tremendous correlation that through this discussion that you guys have put a spotlight on is how can we trust in the unseen? How can we trust when we aren't able to see? You know, and we play with that when we're kids, you know, with the Marco Polo game in the pool where we have to close our eyes and find, you know, whomever, when we have parties and we have piñatas and we have to put on the blindfold and we have to try to hit the piñata to get all the goodies. As kids, we're very comfortable with being able to trust ourselves when we are not able to see. Some kids have problems at night because they perceive monsters under the bed because they're not able to see, but others don't. And so it's interesting how the two kind of are like both sides of a coin, perhaps, trusting the unseen, trusting when we can't see. And I think that, you know, as I said earlier on the other slide, that a big part of this Inanna underworld is that trust piece, that when we let go, that we are letting go of what's no longer serving us so that we can embody what we have expanded into. Being able to trust that there is something beyond this 3D reality and that I am expanding into containing and holding on this earth, a manifestation of my multidimensional self. And so perhaps through the Inanna underworld, each of us will have experiences that will call us to various levels of trust and various levels of being okay with not being able to see.
Mhm.
Perhaps.
Mhm.
So these are some things that are going to be going on in the Inanna underworld. And because it's starting this month, I wanted to give you a preview of what this Inanna underworld cycle will unfold as. And of course, we'll go deeper into it each month while we're in the Inanna underworld. So we've talked at length about the fact that 4 days after this Earth Star Chakra activation, that Venus is descending into the Inanna underworld. I mentioned that when she does that, she is going to have an exact conjunction to Mercury. Mercury will be retrograde. I'll have to put a little retrograde there for you. And that she's going to be at a 10-degree orb to the sun, and that Jupiter will be very much a part of it. So isn't it interesting that we're having these Saturn returns, Saturn oppositions, Chiron returns, amplifying Jupiter energy, amplifies, expands the experience of this shamanic death that each of us are having, and we're having it with these huge initiation points in our lives, so even more amplified. So this is super groovy.
Mhm.
The day after Inanna descends into the underworld, Venus descends into the underworld, Maureen is having an exact activation of her third Saturn opposition, and Carrie's having an exact activation of her Chiron return. I mean, these are the synchronicities that that show up as these cooperative components that you created as a soul to assist you through these kinds of moments of expansion and evolution at these particular times in your life. These synchronicities are not happenstance. They're not coincidences. They're showing you that you are on track for what you have determined for your own personal soul expansion and evolution. And then 4 days after Venus descends into the Inanna Underworld, we've got the first of those 3 Saturn square Uranuses. That's going to be another huge influx of energy to amplify this breakthrough experience. Then next month, which we'll talk about much more next month in class, Venus conjuncts the sun. Venus meets the sun that is the source of life. And the way that it's falling, for those of you in the Pacific time zone, you're going to experience that on March 25th. It'll be occurring on March 25th. For those of us here in the Eastern time zone, it's actually happening on March 26th. And that's going to happen at 6 degrees of Aries. And what's interesting is that when Venus meets the sun in the underworld, I'm having my first activation of my second Saturn return. I mean, this is huge, very huge. And then in May, so we've got March here, then we've got April, we're still in the Inanna Underworld. In May, Venus rises as the evening star, and she will do that on May 3rd at 24 degrees Taurus. And then also in May, after she rises as evening star, we will have the activation of the first gate of the Gemini rainbow goddess evening star at 5 degrees of Gemini on May 12th. So this kind of gives you a framework between now and May of what's going to be transpiring through this Inanna Underworld period. You know, once Venus comes to that 10-degree place to the sun on the other side, that's when the ascent journey begins. So this can give you a framework that you can also use for yourself as a kind of safety net, right? We're talking about February, what did we say it was? I don't remember February 13th to May 12th. So, you know, 3 months there, approximately 90 days. And that's what I had said earlier, that these Inanna Underworld periods are 60 to 90 days, depending on, you know, when that orb with Venus and the sun, 10 degrees happens. So these next 90 days are going to be really fascinating to me. Really, really fascinating. And it kind of reminds me of that dance or game where they got the sticks and it's like, you know, how low can you go? And they keep moving it down and
Limbo.
and then you go through again, how low
Limbo,
can you go?
ironically.
We can make it fun. We can enjoy this process of letting go. And think about, I remember when I was a little girl and we had on our swing set, we had, what did we call those? It was kind of like these trapeze things. I can't remember what the name of it was. And I would hang on it, you know, by my knees upside down. And then I would do this thing called skinning the cat. And I would somehow, I don't know what I did when I skinned the cat, but I would somehow flip myself off of that and land on the ground. And how fun it was to be midair after I skinned the cat before I landed on the ground. So we can make this, sorry, my cat's playing with my water. We can make this an enjoyable experience of expansion, of letting go and expanding into that greater part of ourselves that we have already become. So we've got a lot of activations going on at this gate. Here's the one that we talked about earlier, where Juno is activating the Earth star activation. And what's interesting is that this gate also, and you'll see it on the chart, activates this mutable grand cross that we're having. These are the signs that make up the mutable grand cross, which are a part of these two pathways. And look at what they do. They end things to begin something else. They change things into something else. So the fact that this Earth star activation, as I told you, it's preparing you to let go. Even this grand cross on this chart is doing that very thing. And remember what we said about grand crosses, that they are infinite possibilities of creation, infinite opportunities for timelines that we're choosing to manifest. And so here we've got that woven into this actual gate activation. Oh, you'll notice here, we also have my air fire TP that I coined. You'll see that as a part of this grand cross. And then I have coined a new aspect, the flying trapeze, and you will see this. All these luminary bodies, one semi-sextile to the other, semi-sextile to the other, semi-sextile to the other, semi-sextile to the other. And what you discover is that they have, through this trine and this square, a safety net. And so here we have what I am dubbing the flying trapeze aspect. We've got an opposition going on the path of family, home, and community. And then we have another trine here from the sacred masculine, supporting our vow to the goddess, Virgo, and Vesta, right? That goddess of Kundalini, that Shakti energy, to make this transformation. So let's see what that looks like here. So here in Burgundy, that's the gate activation. And here's Juno, sextile to her, being very much an intimate part of that gate activation. And the other side of it is that where Juno is standing, she happens to be one of the 4 points of that mutable grand cross. So while she's informing the gate is actually activating again this mutable grand cross. So I'll come back to that grand cross in a second, but I want you to see this flying trapeze. Here we have Uranus and Taurus, semi-sextile Chiron and Aries, semi-sextile Pisces, Isis and Pisces, semi-sextile Saturn in Aquarius, semi-sextile Quaoar in Capricorn. Boom, boom, boom. These semi-sextiles we know are 30 degree, they're standing 30 degrees from each other, and it's building what I had called previously in a class, kind of like a string of pearls, because they're all connected. But what we see here from this string of pearls is we've got Uranus here in Taurus, trining Quaoar in Capricorn. That's the foundation of the safety net, this trine. And then Uranus squaring Saturn here and Quaoar squaring Chiron here, creating that safety net for all of these energies, that are being activated through this connection to each other. I mean, I've never before in my life seen anything quite like this before. So there's a lot of unseen support from the cosmos preparing us to take this dive into the Inanna Underworld. And when we come back to this grand cross, what we notice is that this grand cross then even has the teepee that I talked about before, where we've got this opposition, and one end of the opposition is trine North Node in Gemini, trine Mercury and Aquarius. Remember how intimately involved Mercury, the cosmic messenger, is for us at this gate and in the Inanna Underworld. And this part of the opposition, Juno trining Yeshua in Aries, and then Yeshua being sextile Capricorn. That's that TP that I described before. But more than that, it also has this added element here of Neptune. Neptune in Pisces, right? That pipeline to the greater part of ourselves, that we call the unified source field, that which is the extension of source within us as our inner being, that pipeline to our multidimensional selves. And so this is a huge safety net that has been provided for us. So not one, but two and three with the TP. And then this trine here of the sacred masculine and Black Moon Lilith down here to Orcus and Vesta. And so we will talk about how these are influencing your specific journey through the Inanna Underworld in your personal sessions. What we see here too is that this new moon that's coming up on the 11th, and I'll fix this as well, is activating, right? It's sowing the seeds of consciousness. See how the new moon and the sun are right there, very close to all of this going on in Aquarius, sowing the seeds of consciousness for being able to reach out to your multidimensional self and allow yourself to contain more of your multidimensional self than you have ever contained before. That's the consciousness that's being seeded. Now, this is the shamanic medicine. Because of that flying trapeze aspect, look at all of the medicine that's being activated by Chiron. All of those pieces of the string of pearls that I talked about: Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn. So you can trust that this medicine is with you, is in you, and you can rely on for your safety net as you go through the Inanna Underworld. So you can see that this Earth Star Chakra gate is, in a magnificent way, in a potent way, preparing us for this dive of letting go of the trapeze and flying through the air. Any questions about anything that's going on at this Earth Star Chakra activation? It'll become very intimate with for you when we do your personal sessions. So remember the cosmic dance, what's going on over the course of this year. We've got this whopping 7 planets, this stellium of luminary bodies in the sign of Aquarius. This Aquarius gate and all of these planets in Aquarius, this Mercury, Venus, Jupiter conjunction, all of this is speaking to how much the cosmos is supporting our ability to reach to those higher frequencies of our multi-dimensional being. And it's not just happening for the 5 of us, it's happening for everybody on this planet. The opportunity is there. Again, bringing into your awareness this first of the 3 Saturn-Uranus squares. So all of that is informing us while we're in the Inanna Underworld. And then these are some vision quest opportunities that you can take advantage of, should you choose. Using the astrological keywords from the book that I've provided, the link is on the resource page, you can choose one or more of those luminary bodies in the flying trapeze aspect to describe for yourself what is it that you are being invited to let go of. And then you can even take that a step forward and look at the shamanic medicine that's being provided to you through that luminary body to describe how that medicine is there to catch you as you're flying from the known to the unknown. And it would be really exciting if you chose to do this work to share at the group session. And so the group session is going to be on February 20th, which of course is a Saturday. And the March classes, the next, oh Lordy, this should not say, sorry, I have to fix this. The next class for the Sacred Feminine will be on March 8th, but it's not going to be a gate activation. So I will fix that. Sorry about that. The Sacred Masculine class will be on March 13th, and that's the third labor activation. And then I just want to, before we do questions, I just want to remind you that, you know, all of us have these big initiations going on in our lives besides going into the Inanna Underworld. And so because you are subscribed to the Rose Royal Mystery School, that subscription does include a membership to the Golden Ray. And one of the benefits of the membership is that you do get 15% discounts on any reading that you want to have done. And so if you would like to take advantage of that discount and would like to have a reading specific to your Chiron returns or specific to your Saturn oppositions, it's a really good time to do that, because when those activations occur, you have a complete chart that is unique and unto that tells you exactly what it is that your intention for your soul is to be able to do through those initiations. So if that's something that you're feeling called to, just remember that you do have that discount available to you. So, are there any questions that have come up that are desiring to be seen at this time? Anything that you didn't get to speak to before that you'd like to speak to now? Okay, that was a lot to take in. Yeah, a lot to take in. So all I can say is we're in this together. We can be a safety net for each other. So feel free to reach out to each other, to reach out to me as you're requiring someone to help maybe process and integrate, someone that you just need to listen and support and provide a little bit of, you know, emotional support for you. Are we good?
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. All of you. Thank you.
March 8th is International Women's Day, just so you know.
Wow, that's good to know, isn't it?
Yes.
So we'll be experiencing that in the Inanna Underworld. And so, you know, bringing in this multidimensional aspect of ourself, how is that going to change with this focus on International Women's Day? How people are going to be experiencing the sacred feminine aspect of themselves. Just something to be aware of as we move through this. Well, thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate everything that everybody contributed. It was fantastic. A beautiful, beautiful co-creation. Beautiful, beautiful conscious collaboration. I really greatly appreciate it.
Mhm.
And, after we do our group session on the 20th, then you can start scheduling your personal sessions. That'll give you some time to really kind of let the pressure cooker, right, soften you up.
Begin with the chakra.
Into the underworld we go.
Think about how delicious the food that we make in a pressure cooker is, right, after it's done.
Tender.
Really yummy and savory, isn't it?
Mhm. Yes.
Think about how yummy and savory life is going to be for you when you are embodying more of your multidimensional self. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, gorgeous
Saturday.
goddesses. I will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.